Again, that's where Cartman takes over America with the cinema guys. Mr. Hankey's Christmas Classics is a sing-along. I really don't like music.
Is that the one with Cornwallis?
Oh, I don't... No, it's before that. It's just like a bunch of people singing stupid songs. Are You There, God? It's Me, Jesus, which was...
Oh, it's that awful one, isn't it? Isn't it, Mr. Mackey? Da 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 da. Yeah, that's bad.
That's about when I clicked off because I'm not watching this. Are You There, God? It's Me, Jesus, which is the turn of millennium, and Jesus summons God, which is this weird demon creature. You see, Cartman's convinced he's got puberty because he's bleeding out of his arse, but he's got a bacterial infection. And Kenny had it too, so he put a tampon in his arse and he killed himself through septic shock.
Toxic shock, isn't it?
And then there's Worldwide Recorder Concert, and I don't know what that's about because I haven't
seen
brown
it.
Noise. That's all season.
That's
3.
when Cartman tries to recreate the brown noise with recorders.
Oh yeah, okay.
And we are live. We are live on Fortean Words.
Wow, the number one South Park classic show thing. Back when South Park used to be funny and also did live action. I completely forgot the amount of live action that was in South Park. We just, little segues into it.
It does.
It was good.
What is it? What segues into the...
Well, I mean, like, the first one's probably the Mr. Hankey game, where, like, it's an advert, and it's like a live action with a mother and the 2 kids, and they're playing with a piece of poo and putting, like, mariachi band Mr. Hankey on it. And one of the kids says, I wish Dad was still alive, and then they briefly, like, stop being happy, but then they go back to it. But then the other live action stuff, like, for example, Tweak versus Craig, where you got the woodworking teacher.
You're screwing around. Quit screwing around.
I don't like it when people screw around. That's how you lose your hand in the shop. And he keeps having... Because he's got, like, a picture of his fiancée on his desk. And whenever he looks at her, it starts, like, going into the live action bit where... she's on the swing and then she's crashing a plane, and the plane's a remote control plane, so it's a model of it just plopping into a pond. There was loads of like live action, and I missed that because they stopped doing that. I don't know when, but there's like a lot of stuff in South Park where they just stopped doing it and went lazy. I mean, another example, if you watch the first episode where it was actually done with construction paper and like photographs of it, there's shadows from where the paper's laid down on the other bits of paper. But then I was watching like the Korn's Magical Mystery Groovy Tour thing, and in that one it's like the band Korn are there, and it kind of looks a bit like Family Guy. There's not
Scooby-Doo.
Well, yeah,
they're doing Scooby-Doo, aren't they?
Oh, that's why.
Yes.
Okay. Right. I just thought it was a bit weird because, like, they made an effort with other things, making it look like construction paper, and here's the band. I'm just like, but these just look like, a crappy cartoon.
Yeah, they're supposed to be, it's... Did you not notice the laugh track and everything? It's just, they do Scooby-Doo.
Oh, yeah, and they sort of, like, repeating backgrounds as they're running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, does it all click now, Hobbit?
Yeah, I hadn't considered that, you see. I thought I just was like, thinking, why were they being lazy here? So they're doing a Hanna-Barbera. I haven't thought that was deliberate. Them
Who is J.C. Denton?
Oh, that's a good question. J.C. Denton is the protagonist in Deus Ex. He's the one who says, my vision is augmented. Well, who's saying that?
I was just having a quick look at Twitter.
Oh yeah, my vision is augmented.
Do you think we better talk about plants being dead weird?
Aren't plants amazing?
The plants are amazing. They just sit there, do nothing. Or do they? Or do they do nothing, Hobbit?
Well, you see, many people have said that they do nothing. And also, the vegetarians like to say plants don't feel pain. That's why it's okay to just rip them out the ground. They don't feel it, but they definitely do. Yeah, it's just that vegetarians hate plants, you see, and I am a plant respecter, and that's why I eat meat. Because, yeah, they're amazing. I tell you what, the one I was thinking of, because there's all sorts of interesting plants, but you familiar with slime molds?
No.
A slime mold is a plant which moves. So if I look smile, no, not smile, slime mold, and it's a plant, and that's a really disgusting picture of it. I remember seeing a much nicer picture in the 80s when I was reading about plants. A slime mold is an informal name given to several kinds of unrelated eukaryotic organisms. Oh yeah, well I'm sure glad we got that bit done. Which live freely as single cells, but also
You got a link for a slime mold, and I'll show everyone one. That's right, I'll find one. Is it mold as in cake mold or mold as in fungi?
What, those are spelt the same though?
No, they're not.
What? How's a cake mold spelled? It's M-O-U.
M-O-L-D.
Oh, I thought those M-O-U-L-D.
No, that's the other kind of mold.
Oh well, then the other kind of mold. Yeah. And in fact, some molds are incredible, but not molds.
Actually, I do have a bit from the University of Warwick about slime molds. So, movement, memory, and problem solving are abilities we normally associate with animal behaviour and a nervous system. But is that always the case? Could a brainless organism exhibit intelligent behaviour? Could it be capable of learning? And if so, is it employed by British Rail? No. Can we learn anything from it? If you pay attention when you're outside on an autumn day, you might see something unusual in amongst the leaves, around the mushrooms and toadstools, oblivious to the animals running around making their winter stores. There's something that doesn't quite fit. I guarantee you've seen them, but you've not noticed. A few orange spots on the end of a twig, tiny iridescent baubles, or a foaming yellow mass on the bark of a tree. If you stopped to look and waited a while, you might even realise that these things are alive and moving with a purpose, just not very quickly. These strange organisms are not plants. They may be mobile, but they're not animals. They make mushroom-like fruiting bodies, but they're not fungi. They're curious misfits in our labelled and classified world. Slime moulds. Amoebae. Amoebae? Is it amoebae or amoebae?
Amoeba?
The plural.
Yeah, amoeba.
Okay. I thought amoeba was just with the... It's AE on the end.
I think it's like sheep. They're just amoeba.
Oh, okay then. That makes spores, a simple description that sums them up neatly but doesn't remotely explain how strange they really are.
Yeah, what's weird about this is I'm looking at slime.
Oh, I've got
now.
one more. I've got one more paragraph. Now this is the funny bit. Slime mold Fimosarium polycephalum. That's easy for you to say. It's very easy to keep. It's harmless and undemanding. It can live on a sheet of kitchen towel in an old margarine tub and just needs oats for food. Making maps and mazes for them to solve and explore is easy to do. Have a look at our guides for information on how to keep them, how to find them in the wild, and what amazing tricks these strange organisms can do. So that's if you want to keep a slime mold as a pet. That's me dumb.
Pet slime mold.
Yeah.
The weird thing is, right, I remember because slime molds, they exist in the British Isles, and I saw a slime mold. It was on a rotting log, not far from where I live, and it was green, and I could see it was moving from one end of the log to the other. And I'm looking here at these pictures on Brave Search, and they're all sort of yellow things. There's this one weird, horrible-looking thing, which is like fleshy pink, and it's got these black strands.
Oh, did you see that thing that someone said was something they pulled out of someone's lung because of the vax? That was, I think that was a slime mold on a bit of paper.
No, I don't want to look at that.
Yeah.
Oh well, that's the other thing which is interesting about that is you can. Dr. Tullio Simoncini wrote a book called "Cancer is a Fungus." So he was an oncologist, and he noticed the similarities between tumours and
the dog vomit slime mold. The dog vomit.
He noticed the similarities between Candida fungus and tumours, and so he did a chemotherapy
What
treatment.
the fuck's that one? The one that looks like a load of baked beans?
Yeah, it's just it's called Ismi. Oh, actually, I don't know what it's called. But yeah, so his chemotherapy treatment was just injecting people at the arteries, feeding the tumours with sodium bicarbonate, and within about 2 weeks they were within remission. And it was sodium bicarbonate is a lot less toxic than other chemotherapies, but for whatever reason, the Italian government said, no, what you're doing is really dangerous, even though you haven't killed any patients. So we're
what you're doing is really dangerous to GlaxoSmithKline's profits.
Pretty much. So they rescinded his medical license.
Why don't they cure it, wouldn't they? I was going to say, why don't they just sell bicarb and just make up some bollocks? But no, they'd be doing the opposite of what they wanted to do then, wouldn't they?
Well, I think in addition to that, you need to have it needs to be injecting it. You can't just go, LOL, I'm just going to cook up some sodium bicarbonate like heroin and inject it into my major arteries. No, if you're going to do stuff with arteries, you need catheters and carefully controlled stuff. And it's a bit tricky. You need someone who actually knows what they're doing to do it. Because there's a lot of... If you fuck up with an artery, then you're going to die. But aren't plants amazing, right? Like slime mold, it's not a plant, it's not a fungus, but what is it? I don't really know. Well, I thought we could talk about it because it's like, it's a plant. No, it's actually a single-celled organism. Except for when it's like, it's not a single-celled organism. So there's a point where these single-celled organisms, right, they're all on their own, they're competing for resources, and then when the resources get to a certain point, they go, right, we're going to cooperate now, we're going to form this multicellular organism, and we're going to move. We're going to move to where there's new food, and then we're going to become single-celled again. How do they know how to cooperate? That's some form of intelligence, right?
Mm.
Because you can't just be like, LOL, we just formed together now because reasons. Well, what's the reason? No, there's intelligence, and that's the other thing in plants. Like Alphabet Cat, he says, what's it called? Banana move, don't they? The actual plant bush, about 1 meter or something. They have to be planted in a special way. I'll have to have a look at that. If animals produce carbon dioxide, shouldn't we eat them instead of oxygen-producing plants? Yeah, very true. We should. You see, I for one respect plants, and that's why I try to eat as few of them as possible. I still will. I mean, prior to doing the show, I had some peach juice, which was very nice, and that's from a plant. I think it was Alphabet Cat. He said that plants. Yeah, that's it. Plants communicate. No, it's Dom. Via chemical transfer across mycelium networks in the soil. So, do you know what the largest organism in the world is? In fact, some could say it's a giant organism. It's a giant one. Giant.
It's a giant.
It's a gigantic organism, which I'm not having a dig at anyone there, because it's too subtle to be a dig.
Actually, Dom, you might know a bit about this. Do you want to come on and tell us how plants are weird?
If you've got a honey fungus growing on the tree, then its days are numbered. Yeah, if you've got fungus growing on trees, then it's a sign that it's converting its cellulose into...
ML4213 says, if animals produce CO2, shouldn't we eat them instead of eating O2 producing plants? Well, not only do they produce CO2, but they also produce methane, don't they?
So, for the good of the environment, you should eat animals. Yeah, you should eat animals and you shouldn't eat plants. You should just leave the animals to eat the plants because that's their lot in life. But
Yeah.
you, as a conscious human being, you can make the choice, and that's why you should choose to eat meat. Now, plants, aren't they amazing? I can tell you something amazing about plants. The most gigantic organism in the world is, in fact, probably a forest. And the reason I'm saying it's a forest is because they've noticed in America there's a mycelium network, mycelium being the little fibrous fronds that the fungus puts out in the soil.
So it's a bit like Avatar then, Hobbit with the tree.
Yeah, pretty much. And what happens is the mycelium connects with plant roots, and there's often with these plants. Some of them are a bit parasitic, but in this case, it's symbiotic. So the plants will send sugars out through their roots, and the mycelium eats it, and in return, the mycelium will absorb minerals from the soil and digest them, and then it feeds it back into the roots. So they are of benefit to one another, and this is...
So it's a true symbiotic relationship.
Weren't we talking about this last week, about the projects to bring soil back in Jordan or Israel? And you were telling me that in China they were trying to undesert the Gobi Desert, but they just planted one species of tree and it didn't work. Whereas the trial they were doing in Jordan was they're getting sand dunes and they're putting mushrooms on it and sawdust, and the mycelium locks the dunes together so that poverty grasses can grow on it, and then from that you can grow shrubs and trees and more complex life.
Yeah.
Alphabet Cat says, okay, I respect the plants going to eat, especially pig-based meat, as they keep away two very distinct ethnic groups who are rather dubious in nature. It's very true, yeah. They're very intelligent pigs, and that's why certain ethnic groups don't eat them, because they get jealous of how smart they are.
So did you know there are more than 900 species of slime mold?
No, I didn't. It is fucking weird. And I can't find... Oh, here we go. Royal Horticultural Society, gardening, slime moulds on lawns. Because...
so what's cuckoo spit then? Do you remember cuckoo spit, I bet?
Isn't that from a butterfly?
Is it?
Yeah, I was told, when you see, foam on a leaf or something, that's where a butterfly has laid its eggs.
Oh, okay.
They called it cuckoo spit.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Do birds... Well, I suppose birds do spit. They regurgitate their food to...
Why does spit suddenly appear?
Well, I'm pretty sure I have seen some, bright green slime moulds, which look like moss. So,
Dom,
slime...
do you think plants are weird?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now, mate.
Yeah, usual problems with my bloody thing. Yeah, plants are fucking weird.
They really are.
Did you know there are 3 species of cannabis, and there's a lot of crossbreeds. You've got cannabis sativa. Sativa means cultivated by man. Cannabis...
This is why you can get wheat, whose Latin name I forget, but its variety which we grow is called sativa.
Yeah. And then you've got, and that's what gives you a buzz. Then you've got cannabis indica.
What, Weetabix gives you a buzz?
Yeah, exactly. Which is from the
Indian...
Indica means from the Indian continent, and that one makes you sleepy. And
you've got ruderalis.
Ruderalis, which you don't really get high from. That's just like a...
However, the interesting thing about ruderalis is, whereas the other ones, they need a change in lighting conditions in order to go into the flowering stage, ruderalis will auto-flower regardless of light conditions, and it's speculated this was an evolutionary mutation due to it growing in Siberia, and the growing season in Siberia is very short, so it just needs to flower regardless of the.
So are you saying
vegetation
don't smoke Russian puff?
Well, the Siberians do, and it's been known for a long time. And then other growers got interested in it because they were like, well, what if we crossbreed like an indica with ruderalis, and then you get what's known as auto-flowering varieties, which are seen as like good for first-time growers. And here's the other interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm not sure what ruderalis means though.
I think it's someone's name.
You can learn a lot from the species name. For example, vulgaris means it's just a common plant or something, or indigenous or whatever. But then you've got officinalis, means it's had medicinal uses.
Oh, so like Salvia officinalis is the is that mint or is that sage?
That would be a sage.
Because there's various types of salvia. I mean, one type of salvia is mint, another one's sage, and then one type of salvia is one that, if you smoke it, you're going to go into a very strange world. And I'm not even talking about the psychedelic plants, although that's definitely something we need to get into. But plants are amazing. Like,
I've smoked the psychedelic salvia. Yeah. The gravity went sideways.
You've gone into sideways world.
Yeah.
I
was clutching the edge of the sofa, kind of thing.
I too happen to have gone into sideways world, and I've got to say the experience of it. Well, according to the shamans who traditionally use it, smoking's a bad idea because it's way too aggressive and rapid. But I mean, you know, they're little bitches who can't handle this stuff. Salvia is one of those drugs which people do once and then they decide, yeah, I'm never doing that again, because it's not fun or pleasurable. And
a friend of mine, and he headbutted the TV because he was trying to go through it into another dimension.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I remember.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to do that with a CRT, would you? That'd fucking knock you out, wouldn't it?
I was with friends, and they were convinced I was going to stand up and go into the fire, because I kept standing up, and possibly that could have happened. And they said, "Did you know you're really strong?" And I said, "Oh, well, I didn't know that you're trying to hold me down, so." I didn't even know my limbs work, but it's a weird thing, right? I mean, I'm not even. I just wanted to, because that could be another show all in of itself. But let's talk about salvia whilst we're on for the thing. Salvia is really, really weird, and I'm not just saying like, oh, what you mean? It's a bit like MC Escher. No, it's really weird. And disclaimer: kids, don't do drugs. Okay, drugs are bad. Don't do drugs because that would be bad.
So is hops related to loosely to the cannabis plant?
Yes, it is. Yeah, hops and cannabis.
Oh, if only Zero were here. Can you imagine this episode with Zero?
Zero, come back.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna ask
Zero, come back. Do.
Zero, come back. Oh, yeah.
Have you listened to any of our episodes with Zero, Dom?
No, I haven't.
Zero was a legend. Archives. We said, we're going to do an episode on... Should we do an episode on fairies? And he literally goes, I once saw a gnome. It was outside a train station.
Zero had, like, a unique perspective on life. And one of the things I really liked him is just said, I was making a cup of tea the other day. I just thought, this is really weird. Because you turn the switch on and the plug, and then just this... You know, electricity goes into it and it boils the water. And I thought, you know what? He's actually right. When you consider the amount of effort and technology that goes into a kettle, right? Your kettle's made out of plastic and it's got heating elements in it. A neon bulb. I mean, how'd you go about getting neon? That was a whole magical story in itself.
Well, He also used to like talking about
typical
fly
things
agaric mushrooms, didn't he, our Zero?
Yes.
These would be typical things you would fixate on when you're tripping.
Yeah, well, that sounds like Zero, but this is the thing, though. While Zero will do on that sort of stuff when tripping, these are the things I contemplate while sober. Like, yeah, and the electricity gets here. How do you make it so that one generator doesn't, like, turn another generator into a motor? How do you synchronize that up so that they're not pushing against one another and they just feed in the national grid? How does the national grid work? How does load balancing work? How is it that when I turn, like, the
Well, the
kettle
national
on, I
grid
don't
is a
get
bit like ley lines, isn't it, Hobbit?
What's a bit like ley lines?
The national grid.
It is a bit like ley lines.
I'm trying to channel Zero here.
Yeah.
I often think like that, and I find it quite inhibiting because I was trying to learn how laptops work because I had a job as a laptop engineer. I was just thinking too much like into it, like which way are the electrons flowing and what are they doing, and I was just going too many layers too deep into it, and it was kind of inhibiting my learning.
You know, my uncle, and I've not really looked into this since then. He's an absolute genius, and electronics was his hobby. And so I was learning electronics as a kid, and I had one of those little, like, teach yourself electronic experiments. And one I thought was really interesting was I built an AM radio, and it had no power source. It just had a large antenna, and you used that to... Well, I didn't even bother making a large antenna. I just sort of hooked up a wire to the radiator thinking that, well, all those pipes and stuff count as an antenna. And it worked. I just literally touched against the radiator and it's like, yep, you've now made an antenna. And now you're getting radio through this thing, which is just powered from the ether. But well, I was doing this diagram.
If you're going to play with a crystal set then, Hobbit?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and it's like it's using the power of crystals and to jerk off a AM radio signal. Jizz out people talking. Yeah, it's just like trust me, wrap this copper wire around this quartz crystal and then magic will happen. It's like, no, sorry, not magic. No, it's a scientific principle of telecommunications. Trust me, it works. Like, and you're telling me this isn't some esoteric magic stuff? Yeah, no, trust me, it's science, bro. You'll get AM radio, and if you do it this way, you'll get FM radio. It's like, mate, you're pulling my leg. This is magic.
What? So how you wind it around the crystal depends is whether you get AM or FM.
I'm sorry, I can't remember, right? But AM is the easier of the two to do because it's just amplitude modulation. But frequency modulation means that you got your carrier wave and then you got the FM in there. But we can do another electronics episode if you like. I'm happy doing that. I want to focus back on plants. I mean, the other thing with plants, you have to realise, like, when this was going back to Zero and making a cup of tea, even the tea itself, like all the technology goes into tea, like a perforated paper bag, the tea leaves. Who decided, hey, you see that bush growing there? Yeah. I'm going to put some of its leaves in boiling water and drink it. What are you going to do? Do you know if it's poisonous? It'll be fine. How do you know it'll be fine? I'm just going to go for it. What if it's poison?
I mean, how much of this do you think, the things that they're just like geniuses just figure things out? Yeah, and how much has been discovered through just trial and error? And you wonder what's been discovered and what method.
I mean, one thing I could imagine, like, for example, cannabis, I could imagine people getting, like, buds of it and then sticking it on their fire and then going, oh, I like the smoke that comes off of that. Let's breathe that in some more. And then them figuring out, like, hey, you know what? If we cultivate this and we make sure that we separate the males from the females so that the females don't go to seed and they stay really horny, the buds get even stronger and the smoke's even better. So I reckon they did that. So it's easy to say, oh, yeah, this plant and then, these mushrooms, and people figure out you eat this one substance and it will do things to you. But
But cannabis, I remember I was watching Narcos. I don't know if this is just like creative thing from the writers or if it's true, but what one of the characters says to the other that a Chinese emperor burned cannabis because he liked the smell.
Yeah.
Then he saw a songbird and it told him to conquer another empire or something, and that's how his empire was created. So I don't know whether that's just true or not.
It's one of those apocryphal tales, which it's like the way things are. It's like Rudyard Kipling's Just So stories. I like his story of how the alphabet came to be, and they said, well, E is a very common letter, so we want it easy to write, so we'll just do a little squiggle for it. There you go, that's the letter E.
E's are good. E's are good.
Yeah. But so the thing about that is it's easy to say, oh yeah, these various plants, right? You eat them, and then funny things happen or good things happen. But the one which is really weird is ayahuasca, and the plant in it which does the magic. Well, there's various plants in it which do it, which have got the DMT. By the way, Joe Rogan, if you're listening to us, we are available to come on your show. We'll do very reasonable rates. We're below market average, so have us on. Get in touch with our PR agent.
But you might get in trouble for some more M-bombs if you have Hobbit on.
Well, that's okay. I identify as a trans nigger, so it's okay for me to say it as often as I like. Now, back to ayahuasca.
Psychotria viridis shrub.
Yeah,
is one of them.
That's one of them. Yeah. You get all other. There's loads of other plants. They got like some acacia trees. There's some grasses. They've got this DMT in it. But if you just eat that on its own, it's going to do nothing to you because you've got this enzyme in you called monoamine oxidase, and that will break down all these things into serotonin precursors. So you might get a bit of a mood lifting from it, but nothing much will happen. But then somehow I'm trying to think, what do you call those people that live in South America in the jungle? Well, those Indians there, they figured out, like, well, if we combine it with this vine, the vine of the dead, which is a monoamine oxidase inhibitor, it means you can take this stuff and you'll vomit and shit yourself inside out, but then it will stop the DMT from being broken down, so it will go into your bloodstream, into your brain, and then you will trip balls. And
well, I mean, your brain produces it naturally.
When you dream.
Yeah, but and when I wonder if when when people before they die are supposed to see their life flashing before their eyes, because their brains are being flooded with DMT.
Yeah.
And is it like a kind of a survival response that going through their entire set of memory to try and find something relevant to them not dying in that moment?
Well, I mean, that's one explanation. The other one I could think of, it's just like death is a profound experience. So your body's like, right, you're going to have this chemical in you now, and you're going to start going into another realm because that's what this stuff does to you. So I think I remember reading in the book, and I can't remember if it was Rick Strassman, DMT, the spirit molecule, or something else. But these anthropologists were in the jungle, and they're saying, how on earth did you figure out to combine a monoamine oxidase inhibitor with these DMT-containing plants so that you could make ayahuasca? and
they said, you what, mate?
Well, yeah. Translate it into the end of things. How did you know to combine this vine with this leaf in order to make your brew? And the Indian said, well, the plants told us. And this is the other thing you got to think about, right? It's like, it's not just the fact that, you eat Weetabix or you eat spinach and you feel slightly different, or you feel full, or you eat some cannabis mixed in with, say, olive oil and it's part of your ratatouille, and you start feeling really good after about an hour, unless you put too much in which case you think like you're going to hell. How is it that these plants, because they do communicate with us, and it's not just for ingesting, it's like Exile Bear says, I want to know who the hell came up with roasting coffee beans and grinding them up and then, boiling them.
People, when they're in a sort of survival situation, on methods of, you're trying to find things around you to eat. There are methods of testing whether a plant's safe to eat. Like first you rub a bit on, you push it up, chop the leaf and rub a bit on your skin, if it causes a response, and if there's no inflammation or anything, then you
but nettles cause a response though, don't they? Nettles cause a response, so it's kind of a bit weird. It's like some of it's like counterintuitive, isn't it?
Do you know, I want to harvest some nettles, but I'm like shit scared of touching them and it stinging. So, but I've had nettle soup before and it tastes so good.
Stings are like little straws containing acid that sort of pierce your skin, and then they kind of
they're hollow needles.
Needles basically. Yeah,
they got a little bit of formic acid and a lot of histamine in them, and that's why if you have like a nettle soup, like when I had the nettle soup, I had this weird tingling going over my face and going numb, and then I stopped eating it, and then the woman I was with was like, "Are you all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just tingling and my lips have gone numb." Just, that's the histamines. And I was like, "Oh, am I having an allergic reaction?" I said, "No, it's normal because it is a poison, but it won't kill you to eat it." And so after a while, I decided, well, I'm not getting any worse, so I ate the rest of it. And I was like, it's delicious. It's much nicer than spinach.
Because your body produces the histamines. Because it's if you've got like a itchy spot or something and you scratch it, and your body produces histamines, which creates the inflammation response.
Yeah. So, XL Bear was saying, the thing with coffee. I mean, weirder thing than that. It's like
but that's I don't know. Sure, isn't it a bit more route one than that? Maybe, I don't know. They found some coffee in a puddle or something and realised it tasted nice, and then after a while they realised that you grind the beans up and that gets more flavour out or something like. I assume it's more like an evolution with something like that, isn't it?
You got to roast the coffee beans, and then you got people that figured out, well, the civets, they eat the fruit around the coffee, and then they eat the beans as well, but you can gather up their droppings, wash them off, and grind them up, and then you won't get like sick from drinking that coffee somehow. So somehow that's okay, and that's highly prized as some of the best tasting coffee in the world, because the civet somehow. Well, the civet somehow knows only to eat the right ones.
Remember on QI, Stephen Fry was saying how he'd Prince Philip some civet poo coffee for his birthday or something, as a gift, like when he met him or something.
That sounds about right. Uno says that garlic is poisonous. Well,
I know tomato is part of the nightshade family, isn't it?
As is potatoes. Potato leaves are poisonous.
Yeah, did you know that the potato contains, I think it's like 1/1000th of a % of Valium in it? And I was like, but Valium's an artificial substance. How can you... And then, what was it? Let me just have a look at what Valium is, right? Valium. What is Valium? I want to know... it's called...
a trade name.
But its thing is called diazepam. And it's a medicine in the benzodiazepine family. So it's an antioxidant. And then we just see diazepam in potato.
That's down
occurrence of pharmacologically active benzodiazepines in, and then it trace amounts in wheat and potato. Abstract. Aqueous.
So cyanide that occurs in apple pips.
And apricot pips. Apricot pips as well.
It occurs in a lot of plants. Include especially the peach stones of almonds and peaches, and it's not just cyanide; it's another poison together, and some of the parts are far more toxic than the tool on its own. However, they're bonded with an enzyme, so it will go through your body without activating, unless you've got cancer, in which case it will, like, the enzyme will attach to the cancerous cells and then poison them. So it's chemotherapy of its.
I used to use cyanide. I was a electroplating chemist. Point.
Yeah.
And cyanide was used in that, and
ferrocyanide, something about iron plating with cyanide.
Yeah, it's very dangerous. Yeah, it's very dangerous stuff. But a lot of I've heard stories of electroplating chemists like accidentally absorbing it through their skin and stuff. And over time, they build up a tolerance. And one tried to commit suicide, eating a load of it, and it did nothing. But if you I think if you combine it with something, the plating solutions, something can go wrong, and it produces hydrocyanic acid, which is gaseous, and that's going to kill you.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, and so going back to coffee, because this is what I want to mention about ayahuasca and how the plants talk to us. I didn't even want to, because when I first was thinking about it actually yesterday as I was driving through, and I thought, how does the bee orchard know how to be like that? Because it's got no eyes. It doesn't know what a bee looks like. And some say, oh well, it's just evolutionary selection. I'm thinking, no, I'm not going for it. I'm not. Or the other one, like the Raffiesia, the stinking flower that smells like rotting meat, the largest flower in the world, and it smells like rotting meat, and then that's how it attracts flies to pollinate it. Well, I don't know. Do plants have smell receptors? Because as far as I know, when I was drawing about flowers, they've got stamen and stoma for pollen and getting pollinated. They got petals, which attracts the insects because they got ultraviolet patterns on them, which the bees can see. And they produce a bit of nectar as an incentive for the bees to come there, or other pollinating insects. As far as I know, they haven't got any sense of smell, sight. They're sensitive to touch.
Do you remember that Tales of the Unexpected, Dom? The one where the bloke can listen to plants?
Oh, I remember the Triffids, though.
yeah, the Triffids. Yeah. Do you mean the Hammer one or the TV? Do you remember the BBC TV series?
Yeah, the TV series, and the guy was in hospital, and he had bandages over his eyes, so he didn't see the meteors that came down, which made everyone else blind.
Which blinded everyone, yeah.
He was leading a load of blind people around.
The Hammer film. In the end of the Hammer film, he kills all the Triffids by he runs a ice cream van off a cliff.
How does that kill the Triffids?
Because the Triffids follow it, because they follow sound, don't they?
Oh, right.
It's a bit like, what's that, The Quiet Place. So imagine like The Quiet Place, only everyone's blind.
Hey, you've seen The Quiet Place? The film?
No, I know about it. I haven't seen it, but I know about it.
Just kill the Triffids with a spray pack full of Roundup.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're
to the coffee, by the way.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's an Ethiopian legend, because that's where coffee originates. Legend says that there's a goat herder, Kaldi, discovered the potential of the beans, and the story goes that he discovered coffee after he noticed that after eating the berries from a certain tree, goats became so energetic that they didn't want to sleep at night.
Oh yeah.
How they got to roasting it, I don't know, but
yeah, I think there's something similar in cat as well. Like, do
you remember the spiders? Do you remember the one with the spiders where they gave the spiders all the different drugs and got them to make a web?
And caffeine was really fucked up.
Yeah.
Oh, I seen the parody version of that where this one that was given marijuana, instead of building a web, built a hammock and decided to just chill out and knitted himself a rasta cap. And however, the spider that was given crack got into his convertible and decided to rob like a liquor store.
Oh shit! Do you know who gave those spiders drugs?
Was it Timothy Leary?
It was fucking NASA.
Oh yeah. Well, that's about right, isn't it? It's like NASA just going to their buddies in the CIA and says, "Hey, you know those big 55-gallon drum barrels you got of LSD? Yeah. Can we have some? What for? We want to see if we can get spiders high. And this is for space, right? Oh yeah, we do space, don't we? Yeah.
Yeah, you seen the LSD one? So I'm just putting them up on the screen now. So that's the LSD one.
Is NASA trying to get their budget for the next year?
Yeah, it's because they don't send anybody into space, so they just do this shit instead and just fucking use up the budget.
That's it. Yep.
So there's LSD. Here's marijuana.
Marijuana.
What's chloral hydrate? I bet.
Is that ether? Let me have a look. What is chloral hydrate? Chloral hydrate.
There's the little. NASA said a little bit about each one. So spiders given low doses. So how do you give a spider LSD?
You probably just put a very tiny drop of it onto its body.
Oh, okay.
Inject it into a fly.
Yeah, spiders given low doses of LSD, Class A drug in the UK that can land you up to 7 years. Made more geometrically regular patterns than when they were sober. So this stone spider seems to have given up on its web halfway through.
Chloral hydrate is limited use as a sedative and hypnotic pharmaceutical drug.
So NASA said the spiders who sampled the drug, this is marijuana, said the spiders who sampled the drug were easily sidetracked while building and left their webs unfinished. They didn't say whether they had the munchies too. Spiders fed chloral hydrate gave up on their webs even faster than the ones who had a little cannabis. That may be because the chemical is a sedative that's used for the short-term treatment of insomnia in humans.
I like that the spider exposed to caffeine is just like it proves that
LOL, fuck this.
Lets you do stupid things faster.
Yeah.
They were too scared to give them PCP.
They might. Just spiders punching out tanks.
Spiders dropping from 40-story buildings, but all their legs broken and still tap dancing.
Because apparently criminals on LSD can put their fist through a police car windscreen, can't they?
PCP.
Yeah, PC. Oh, what did I say?
Apparently they've been shot multiple times and they still kept coming at them. And
Jesus, yeah. So spiders exposed to caffeine. A cup of coffee may wake you up in the morning, but it plays havoc on spiders. The webs they made were characterised by disorganised cells and a lack of the normal hub and spoke pattern, according to Mental Floss. Oh, Benzedrine.
That's a sleeping tablet.
Benzos. These webs had large gaps as the spiders weaved them energetically without planning or attention to detail. Surprisingly, scientists have been getting spiders intoxicated since the late 40s. Back in 1948, zoologist H.M. Peters had been staying up all night in an effort to research the web-spinning abilities of orb web spiders. He then roped in pharmacologist Peter N. Witt to help him find a solution.
We need to legalise medical PCP.
Medical. Well, it was wasn't it an anaesthetic to start with?
You know what? I'd like to know what it was. I think it's literally just one of those mad scientists goes, "Oh, I've made a new drug. I don't know what it's for, but it shall be useful."
It's a cure for not being weak.
Yeah.
So what's their justification for this? I mean, what was their original?
I think it's like, look, this is your brain on drugs.
Oh, no, isn't this like
don't do drugs, kids, isn't it? I think.
Isn't this like with the shark scientists going, well, we shoved an electrode up its ass and we figured that stops them from sleeping?
Well, they might be asleep, they might not. We still haven't even figured out how a shark sleeps.
So, in addition to, like, I want to say, right, because I saw a schizo post. No, it wasn't about coffee, it was about cocoa beans. But so you got this weird looking plant from South America. If you ever looked like a cocoa bean pod, it's weird. And inside you got these weird fleshy nubs, and those are the cocoa beans, and they're surrounded in this flesh, which I'm told has got the texture of a lychee, but it's got a citrusy taste to it, which to me that sounds
mescaline. I found another one. They tried mescaline.
Yeah, well, I was going to talk about cactus as well, because that's an interesting thing as well. Why do cacti produce these weird things?
If you're in a desert, you need water, try eating cactus. It won't do you any good.
No, right, why's that then?
Just give you the shits and you'll end up losing even more fluid.
Yeah, there's a lot of very bitter alkaloids in it, which will make you trip balls, but you're not going to get any sustenance. The only way you could do it is if...
Oh, I've got the story behind why they give the spiders drugs. The members of the zoology department were dead tired. For days they'd been trying to make a motion picture film of a spider building its web. Night after night they'd be waited up in the laboratory to catch their subject in its intricate construction job, but the perverse little creature had refused to perform for their cameras. So this is like, LOL, fuck you, you're getting some drugs, pal. Each morning they had fallen asleep with exhaustion, only to find, on awakening an hour or two later, that the spider had spun a beautiful web during their sleep. Like, these people are so clever that they can't think to, like, maybe do shifts in sleeping. It's like, this is how clever they are. In desperation, a delegation of the zoologists finally came to my pharmacology department. Like, I'm trying to get spiders to perform. Right, how do we do it? We're all colleagues at the ancient University of Tübingen in Germany. Oh, it would be the Germans, wouldn't it? Could I supply them with a drug that would simulate the dilatory spider to spin its web when they wanted it to? What? Have you got a drug that makes spiders spin webs on command?
Yes, because you see, in Germany, there's like a big concern that spiders aren't pulling their weight. So we need a way to improve spider productivity. So there's not enough of spider webs here.
As it happens,
I'd have to know so much about spiders, like neurobiology, to and think that would work, wouldn't they? Like, who knows how a fucking spider's brain works?
Basically, this was like the Joseph Mengele of the spider world. We will give them a number of substances and we will observe the effects.
As it happened, the zoologists found me in a mood of despair that matched their own. I'd been experimenting with various drugs to try to find out whether they differed in their effects on human beings. My test drugs, marijuana, mescaline, morphine, scopolamine, Benzedrine, had evoked wonderful responses in my subjects. Fantastic dreams, weird visions in colour, laughter, tears and all sorts of emotions, but the experiments had failed to yield any answer to my question about specified differences among the drugs. Well, he's not answering. Are these like the worst scientists you've ever come across in your entire life? Like,
one of them went on to make the human centipede.
Like, yeah, it's like one of them. He's got no idea. Like, I don't know. How about like you do 3 hours? I'll get my head down, and then I'll do 3 hours after, and then you can get your head down. Like, one of them can't even think about that, and the other one's like, I just can't come up with a form. Like a series of questions to find out what the differences in feelings are when you take drugs. Are these people fucking hopeless or what?
See, I was conducting experiments on human subjects, but then after 1945, the number of subjects declined for some reason. I'm not sure why. So I moved my experimentation to spiders. There are no ethical controls for the use of spiders. Nobody likes spiders. I was able to do as I please with spiders. and I have achieved great results for spider kind.
Naturally, I pointed out to the zoologist that I had not the slightest idea how the drugs would affect spiders. Nevertheless, I gave them samples of several drugs to try. I just imagine him in the lab, like, looking furtive, where, hey, spider, do you want some of this? The next morning, my zoology friends returned with news which, though rather disappointing to them, was highly exciting to me. The drug they had administered to the spider had not accelerated its performance, but it had caused the animal to spin a web of strange shape never been seen before. I at once decided to transfer my experiments from human beings to spiders. Human subjects are moody, complicated, variable, and apt to carry over memories from one experiment to the next. Spiders
subjects have problems. People ask questions. Too many questions.
Spiders promise to be much simpler subjects for testing the effects of drugs on the central nervous system.
There are no spider advocacy groups. I can do with them as I please.
Yeah. Furthermore, they might yield information which could be put to practical use. If spiders responded differently to different drugs...
army now.
If spiders responded differently to different drugs, they would afford an easy test for identifying a small amount of an unknown drug, for instance. In case of accidental or deliberate poisoning. What the actual fuck is this idiot on about? Hobbit?
I don't know, because you see, whilst you're doing that, I thought I could think more about plants, and I will talk a bit more about cocoa beans, but
I'll just read to the end of this. The fuckwit, this fuckwit, like what? So how do you change the test from spiders to what? You take people's blood, cook it up, and give it to a spider and see what web it makes?
Isn't science amazing, right?
Yeah.
Like, I put on my lab coat and go to the science place, and I give drugs to spiders. I totally don't take the drugs myself.
Yeah.
And I get given grants for it. Isn't science amazing? I've got a PhD in spiders.
Our brown envelope's amazing. I just get given them to do shit in a lab.
Nobody asks, like, is your research useful or anything? Because now you see, we do what's known as theoretical science, and like it's great because then I could go, well, I gave the spiders a bunch of drugs, and I took some.
And zapped a shark in the arse.
I made them listen to some Grateful Dead albums, totally not because I wasn't like stoned.
And D-Ream. For some reason, I give them some D-Ream to listen to.
Things can only get better.
It's Jesus, these fucking people.
Scientists, these fuckers were in sixth form 2 years ago. Now we call them scientists.
Hey, this fucker was doing this about fucking 60 years ago. They haven't changed at all.
It like so much of this is fucking bullshit, isn't it? It's like, yeah, basically it's like your village eccentric, but you give him like some like lab gear, and suddenly like, oh, he's got glassware. Well, he must be clever if he's
got a Bunsen burner and he's boiling some water for his tea. He must know what he's doing.
Yeah.
Right, let's get back to plants now.
Plants. So we talked about coffee beans and it's weird, but I think cocoa beans are weird, right? And this was the Schizo post. He says, when you look into all the work that gets involved in making chocolate, there's hundreds of steps. First of all, you've got to cultivate this plant, and you've got to figure out like what the right growing conditions are. You've got to go and invade Africa because like that's like one of the places hot enough to grow it. So you're growing your cocoa in Africa. You've got your army of Nestle child slaves macheteing down the cocoa bean.
Is that Nestle TM child slaves?
Yes, and you got your cocoa beans, and then you've got to separate out the flesh from the thing. Well, you can do two things. You can have the humans eat it, but or alternatively, you could just give them like some gruel of sweet corn and porridge oats mixed together, because LOL Africans, they eat that. And then you just let the cocoa bean split in half, and you have the ants eat.
I don't think they even. Isn't it just maize with water?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
They do like eating cornstarch, don't they? Just like,
Yeah.
not even wetted with water, they just eat dry cornstarch. But so they split them in half. The ants eat all the insides and leave it bare. And then what they do is, that's not good enough. No, you got to let them rot for a bit, but not too much rot, because if you rot it too much, it's going to taste nasty. And then once it's rotted, you grind them up, or you roast them first, and then you grind them. So you got to figure out what you do first. You got to grind them or that. And now it's in a point where it's starting to smell a bit like the chocolate we know and love. And at that point,
chocolate was very different, wasn't it, when we first had it over here?
It's very bitter without adding sugar.
Yeah.
Maybe rotting it causes it to ferment and create sugars.
No, it doesn't. The sugar's got to be added separately to it. But there's two different types of cocoa, as I found out, because I didn't know what red velvet cake was until recently, and it turns out you've got Dutched cocoa and you've got non-Dutched cocoa. So what Dutching is the cocoa powder, which you've got from these roasted cocoa beans, is acidic. It's one of the Jewish types, and in order to turn it orthodox, you've got to use a reducing agent. So you use like is it sodium bicarbonate they use, or is it they use another alkali substance in it? You can test your juice if they're acidic by using litmus paper. So the Dutch cocoa is much darker than the non-Dutched cocoa. So red velvet cake is done with non-Dutched cocoa powder, and that's why if you're making it in the cake, because it's acidic, you can use baking soda, and it will make the cake rise because it's acidic enough. If you're using Dutch chocolate, you'll have to substitute baking soda for baking powder, which has got cream of tartrate in it. And that's what gives red velvet cake its colour. It's the non-Dutched cocoa powder, which is a reddy colour, whereas Dutch cocoa is brown, black colour. But we do all this stuff, right? We do all this stuff, and we propagate this cocoa bean everywhere. And you got to ask yourself, like, it's a pretty interesting fluke that this plant, what you do a lot of shit to it, tastes absolutely delicious, and there's no chance that the cocoa plant is going to become endangered because it's too highly sought after. It's just not going to happen. So this plant has somehow figured a way to get humans propagating it everywhere, transporting it to other continents, and growing at a massive scale. And that's pretty clever. That's like, if you're thinking like survival strategies, this plant has managed to harness the most intelligent creatures on the planet to be its slaves, basically. Like, they're all living and dying to propagate. And in the case of the Nestle child slaves, they are living and dying because sometimes they chop their hands off with the machetes and bleed out.
So you're saying the plants are manipulating us, not the other way around?
Well, put it this way, if the cocoa bean was a bland, tasteless pap, no one would go to all the effort they do in order to cultivate it. But because it tastes so delicious, and because it's got all these, like, things in it which are good for you, like, yeah, they are manipulating us. We're not immune to the symbiotic relationship with the rest of nature. We're not. I mean, I know some people are divorced from nature, but we're not really that divorced from it. So it's the same with potato. I mean, potato is a great plant. It's quite delicious. I particularly enjoy mashed potato. And, yeah, plenty of people will grow that because it just sort of grows everywhere. And that originated in Peru and it spread everywhere. And
isn't it supposed to be good as a first crop? Because it's kind of similar to rotivating your ground.
Is it? Or does it break the soil up?
Yeah. Well, that's what I heard anyway.
Yeah, well, the whole thing with excuse me, the whole thing with that is the whole monoculture thing and how it's want to rotate your crops because they're just planting the same crops over and over again. There's no trees. no organic matter going back into the soil, so the soil's just getting weaker over time, and it's becoming a real problem in farming, monoculture thing. So
yeah, you're saying we could end up with like a dust bowl in Norfolk or something.
Yeah.
I was just saying that I was reading, because I just got curious about like medical PCP, and I'm reading this trip report about it called "I Am God!" exclamation mark. I'll just read the first sentence. This is on erowid.org. In my long history of drug use, this experience was the most beautiful, the most pure, and also the one that probably hurt me the most in the end. I'm writing this about 11 years after the fact, so I was about 19 at the time. PCP was originally marketed as a anesthetic called Suranil, but then there's like, but it makes people go mad and decide.
Wasn't ecstasy a marriage counselling drug?
Well, yes and no.
It was used in the First World War. Soldiers used it.
Well, funny enough, it originally the research into ecstasy was done in 1912 as an astringent for helping blood clotting, and it's based on sassafras, which was known at the time to help with that sort of thing. But they found out that MDMA is also like, you take it and it makes people open up and be very emotional and dance to house music, which just goes to show how powerful a mind-bending drug it is, because who wants to dance to that? It was originally like in the 1970s, like when, Tim Leary and his other people got hold of it, because it was rediscovered. It was like used in 1912, forgotten about, and then an anonymous student.
Yeah, do you remember the big episode we did on ecstasy?
MDMA.
Yeah, we did a huge episode on it, didn't we?
I don't remember talking. We might have talked about Alexander Shulgin, but let's do it again. An anonymous student in the 1970s in Alexander Shulgin's class, who's, by the way, a chemist, said, hey, look up this thing. It's made from sassafras, and this is what, like for root beer? It's like, yeah, pretty much, but like it's more interesting than root beer. So Alexander Shulgin did it, made some MDMA, and then he said it was interesting because he wasn't expecting it to be more psychedelic than the other derivative, which is MDA, because he says, well, it's a methylamphetamine, not just amphetamine. But it is, and it was far more, people like it far more than MDA. And it's why for a long time, like sales and shipping of sassafras from China was regulated, because people were like, yeah, you're not just trying to make authentic root beer, are you? You're Dutch, you're scum. You're not interested in root beer. We know what you're.
Yeah, because it was the Dutch that were making near enough the world's supply of it, weren't they?
Yeah, and have I mentioned, by the way, how the Dutch are scum? Because I don't think I mentioned that enough.
You don't mention it enough, I bet. I got to say
no,
that.
No, I don't. They truly are scum.
And it can't be mentioned too much.
Yeah,
speaking of ecstasy, I'm just going to post a link in the chat to the Gurning Rave guy. Have you seen that clip?
Oh yeah, he's good, isn't he?
Oh, what, from Bounce by the Ounce, that guy?
I don't know where it's from, but yeah.
Yeah, that nightclub's called Bounce by the Ounce, isn't it?
The bald guy.
Yeah. What you want to find is you want to find just look for Bounce by the Ounce on YouTube, and you'll find the whole video.
There was something I saw today on Twitter, and I'm trying to scroll through it, trying to find it again, and I can't find it. But it was just something recently about people reminding me that the Dutch are scum. Like they've done something recently, which just made me realize like they really are like bad.
They're a terrible people.
Yeah, but they've done something recently which is like really bad, and I shouldn't be scrolling through Twitter whilst I'm trying to tell people about aren't plants amazing? Like we think we cultivate them for our benefit, but what if they cultivate us for their benefit? That's right.
Isn't that amazing?
Have a folk song called 2 Arses High, which is about growing the grass 2 arses high, so you can fuck in it and you can be hidden.
Isn't it weird, like with cannabis, like the strongest stuff is I mean, it used to be called sensimelia, and it means without seeds, and it's just like, yeah, so sexually frustrated female plants will get you the most high, and a lot of people say, you know, it's a potent aphrodisiac, and it's like you're basically smoking like sexually frustrated females, and then you get sexually frustrated or sexually aroused,
just like the son of Sam. Am I right?
Who's the son of Sam?
Oh, David Berkowitz. He shot courting couples in cars. Hobbit.
Oh, was he like a real life horror movie protagonist? It's like, wait, are you having premarital sex? Well, I better kill you.
Yeah, but he was worse than that. He was Jewish.
Ugh. Imagine being Jewish.
Apparently smelt of milk as well. Gone off milk.
Whilst I'm scrolling trying to find this thing about the Dutch being scum, I found someone saying like about how like electronics and are totally not demonic ritual sacrifice. They are, yeah. Oh, what? I should stop trying to find this fucking thing with, like, God damn it. Everyone knows the Dutch are scum, but I wanted to remind people, like, specifically how they're scum.
Is it plant-based?
Was it about plants? Or was it about something else? Like, well, that's the... well, whilst we're on the subject, let's get back into plants, right? Because I think we'll include mushrooms in plants, because there is a very fine line between where the mycelium and fungus ends and where plants begin. But we can
there's also the ginkgo biloba.
Yeah,
I think it's one of the. Some of them are they're a tree. Some of them are believed to be over 1,500 years old, and something on it. Extreme examples of its tenacity may be seen in Hiroshima, Japan. 6 trees growing between 1 to 2 kilometers, which is 1/2 to 1.25 miles. The 1945 atom bomb explosion, among the few living organisms in the area to survive the blast. Although most all other plants and animals in the area were killed, the ginkgos, though charred, survived and were soon healthy again. There you go. Those 6 trees are still alive today.
Oh, here you go, Hobbit. Do you want the history of... I found that PDF that we used for the original Ecstasy episode. So ecstasy is a synthetic drug, methylene something or other, MDMA.
methylene dioxymethamphetamine.
That's it, yeah.
Right.
As it's
my pronouns.
As its active psychotropic ingredient. MDMA was first synthesized in 1889. In 1912, the German pharmaceutical company Merck, MERCK, applied for a patent on the drug. Merck was considering putting it on the market as an appetite suppressant, but there was insufficient demand for it. At the beginning of the Cold War, the US Army became interested in MDMA's potential use as a truth serum, a use for which it later turned out to be unsuitable. In the early 70s, some members of the US psychiatric community made use of MDMA. Dr. Alexander Shulgin, famous author of Vical, heard from the young chemistry student Mary Kleinman that MDMA had interest
I thought she was anonymous. So Kleinman told Shulgin about methylene dioxymethamphetamine.
Yeah. So he heard from Mary Kleinman that MDMA had interest in psychoactive effects. After performing a number of experiments on himself, he introduced psychotherapist Leo Zeff to the drug's effect. Zeff was so taken by the effects of MDMA. Jesus Christ! Oh God, this is like a bar mitzvah, isn't it? Jesus. was so taken by the effects of MDMA that he postponed his retirement to travel around the US, promoting its therapeutic use to colleagues. So there you go. MDMA was first used recreationally in the early 1980s, and pills containing MDMA were given the name ecstasy because of the euphoria they caused. By 1984, MDMA was widely used as a recreational drug. Shulgin and Shulgin, 1991. Okay, so yeah. In 1985, MDMA was outlawed in the US and placed on Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Act. So this paper is actually called The Production of Ecstasy in the Netherlands. Hobbit.
Yes. Oh, there we go. Uno says euthanasia illegal in the Netherlands for ages of up to 1 year and older than 12 years. Children's groups are also pushing to extend the law to cover ages for 1 to 12 years.
Yeah.
Imagine living in a country that's so fucking depressing that euthanasia is illegal. E's are good. Happen E's are good. And that is based on the sassafras plant. So let's have a look. I want to know, what is the sassafras plant? Because, we done slam mods. They're amazing. But there's sassafras. Sassafras sounds like, we are from the Sassafras Empire of Beta Regulis too. Sassafras is a genus of tree, one extinct species of deciduous trees, native to eastern North America and eastern Asia. The genus is distinguished by its aromatic properties, which have made the tree useful to humans. Here's the thing, right? So many of these plants, their evolutionary strategy is like, we're going to be useful to human beings and get cultivated by them. Or, in the case of chilies, we'll make our stuff so poisonous to creatures that only birds will be able to eat them because they can't taste it. But then humans come along and go, yeah, we like that, this is poisonous, let's just eat more of it and, cultivate the seeds ourselves. But mushrooms don't really do that. Like, mushrooms are pretty much like, they exist regardless of human approval or not, and that's why they're really fucking weird. And then slime mods, aren't they amazing? Like, it looks like a plant. Well, it's not a plant, it's not fungus, but what does it do? What does it eat on? Nobody knows. Even though the Royal Horticultural Society says it eats like fungal spores and bacteria. Sassafras plant looks quite pretty. It's got these beautiful yellow flowers on them. And what else does it say about sassafras?
I thought it was sarsaparilla. I thought it was sarsaparilla that was in root beer.
Yeah, but isn't sarsaparilla sassafras? Human uses. All parts of the sassafras plants, including...
Hold on a minute. We need to know the difference between sarsaparilla and
Whilst you're doing that, I'm going to read the uses of sassafras.
We don't even know what you're talking about, Albert. You might not even be talking about the right plant.
Have been used for culinary, medicinal, and aromatic purposes, both in areas where they're endemic and blah blah blah. So culinary uses. It's an important ingredient for things like root beer and sassafras.
Sarsaparilla versus root beer. If you're keen on knowing whether there's a big difference between these two beverages or not, then do read the upcoming article as it has compared sarsaparilla and root beer in great depth.
Remember McDonald's root beer?
Yeah, I remember that when they first started.
It was nice, but it kind of tastes like disinfectant.
Right.
It tastes like what disinfectant smells like.
No, not disinfectant. It's germaline. That's what it smells. That's what it tastes. It tastes like. Yeah, I know what you mean. It tastes like germaline smells. That's the only way I can think of.
So here's an interesting thing. Sassafras is no longer used in commercially produced root beer since sassafras oil was banned for use in commercially mass-produced foods and drugs by the FDA in 1960 due to health concerns about the carcinogenity of saffrol, a major constituent of sassafras oil in animal studies. But you want that stuff for the LSD, MDMA.
Right. So the difference between sarsaparilla and root beer is sarsaparilla is just the pure ingredient, Whereas root beer is actually an adulterated sarsaparilla. It contains a mix of other ingredients. It has a lighter aftertaste than sarsaparilla. It comes in 2 varieties, namely the alcoholic version and the soft drink version. Both drinks are well loved and have their followers all over the world.
So,
do you know why the after the First World War, the battlefields turned into poppy fields?
Oh, is it because, like, when you use explosives on the poppy pods, it sends the seeds everywhere?
No. It's because the poppy seeds were in the soil, and they were brought to the surface by the explosives. And a lot of seeds, you put them in the soil and they grow. Poppy seeds need sunlight to activate.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting.
And also, a lot of people test positive for opioids because they've been eating poppy seed buns.
Yeah.
There's trace elements in there.
Yeah, all poppies contain opium, just not enough to get high from, but enough to show up on the piss test at work, which is really fun when they're saying, like, well, you can't drive today because you've tested positive for opiates, you fucking drug addict. And it's like...
a friend went for a job at Amazon and he was given a drug test and he came up and we kind of figured out, because he'd never touched he had in the past, but he's like drugs.
He doesn't do a marijuana.
No, and we figured out he must.
I don't smoke the reefer. The reefer. Do you remember that one?
Yep. Pum must smoke ganja.
He don't smoke the reefer.
So, okay. Sassafras has analgesic and antiseptic properties because it was used in.
Is sassafras used in Germaline?
I don't know what Germaline is, but I do know that
it's like antiseptic cream, but it's pink.
Right. Well, I don't know what the ingredients of Germaline are, so I can't say. But yeah, sassafras is put like on wounds, like that's traditionally I do. The Indians would just put some leaves on the wound and it would treat it.
It's scented with oil of wintergreen. Wintergreen is a group of aromatic plants. The term wintergreen, once commonly referred to plants that remain green throughout the winter, the term evergreen is now more commonly used for this characteristic.
Witch hazel's another one. It smells nice. It's an astringent. You got witch hazel in some toothpaste and mouthwashes.
What the fuck? Germaline is now doctor's prescription.
Really?
Yeah. I used to be covered in a thin layer of it all the time when I was a child.
Well, yeah, my favourite cough syrup growing up as a kid was the one my granddad made. And so I said to him, what's the, if I wanted to make it myself, what's the thing? He says, it's just varying mixtures of menthol, essential oil, eucalyptus oil, glucose syrup, green colorant, water, distilled water.
Hey, how about this? Germaline was invented by
codeine. And I was like, you've got codeine in it, and it's like,
nice.
Yeah. And you were saying,
is that the main? Would we be right in assuming that that's really the main active ingredient?
And it had ethanol as well. And I was
nice.
I said, why did you put codeine in your cough syrup? And he says, well, did you know that opiates are antitussative? And I said, no. Yeah, opium and its various derivatives, but we're not allowed to use codeine now. You have to be prescription only. So that's why we stopped doing it.
Did you know you can get that ibuprofen with codeine, and you can use cold extraction to get the codeine out because the codeine's soluble, but the rest isn't.
Cocadamol is with paracetamol, yeah. Yeah.
Germaline was invented by cough mixture tycoon Sir William Henry Vino. Is that like Vino's cough syrup then? Yeah. He invented Vino's cough mixture and Germaline, who in 1925, fearing he had cancer of the lips, sold his Vino drug company to the Beecham's company.
Did Did you know Sassafras was used in the lyrics to Love in an Elevator by
Yes,
Aerosmith?
kiss your sassafras.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that one.
Which should not be confused with Tangerine Dream's Love on the Real Train, which is a very nice song.
Does that mention sassafras?
It has no lyrics in it whatsoever. It's one of the reasons I like it. I like instrumentals. I didn't know this. Sassafras wood was used for toothbrushes because it's aromatic. And the oil used to be used in dentistry because it's numbing. So yeah, it's...
Oh, so I think maybe it might be prescription only because Germaline contains chlorhexidine.
Oh yeah, chlorhexidine. That's a... I've seen chlorhexidine mouthwash.
Have you? Oh, apparently chlorhexidine. So this product contains chlorhexidine. Chlorhexidine is known to induce hypersensitivity, including generalized allergic reactions and anaphylactic shock. The prevalence of chlorhexidine hypersensitivity is not known, but available literature suggests this is likely to be very rare. The product should not be administered to anyone with a potential history of an allergic reaction to chlorhexidine.
Oh, no wonder sassafras is so nice. It's got other essential oils with it, like camphor and eugenol. What's eugenol? Is that the one that smells like geraniums?
Oh, fucking awesome. The pharmacological properties of Germaline are phenol, which is an antiseptic and local anaesthetic.
Oh, yeah, that one smells nice.
And the chlorhexidine, which is the antiseptic. Yeah, well, it smells like root beer.
That's it. Corsoldeal has chlorhexidine. Dentist told me not to take it. My mum has sensitive teeth, and she has chlorhexidine toothpaste. Yeah, so sassafras oil is really quite nice. It's
what's a list of excipients, Hobbit? Is that like ingredients, is it?
I don't know what a excipients is, but I'm just reading this Wikipedia article for sassafras oil. It says it's also been used as a natural insect or pest deterrent and in liqueurs such as the opium-based Godfrey's. I want to find more about this opium-based Godfrey's cordial. It's patent medicine containing laudanum in a sweet syrup, which was commonly used as a sedative to quieten infants and children in Victorian England. Fucking based.
Well, it actually has liquid paraffin in it. That's like an old one, isn't it? Like liquid paraffin on.
What's got wounds, liquid paraffin in it?
Germaline.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, if Godfrey's cordial's got paraffin in, I don't think I'd do that. But... Do you remember with like there was this fashion for something called coca wine, which was cocaine mixed in with wine or various other tinctures, and the Pope at the time, this had been earlier 20th century, said it was a gift from God. He was really enthusiastic about coca wine, but they found actually it's not very good because it's got the heart attack inducing effects of cocaine, but also it's really toxic on your liver. So
what's an anionic agent?
Anionic, right?
Yeah.
So if you've got an ionic agent, like an ionic surfactant, that's used in disinfectants, not disinfectants. Sorry, it's used in cleaning stuff. But if you've got an anionic surfactant, then it's not ionic.
Because it says chlorhexidine is incompatible with anionic agents.
I thought anionic means using positive ions as opposed to cationic, which would be negative ions.
Oh, right. So like anode and cathode then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, someone the other day was trying to tell... I mean, we might have to do this in an electronics episode, but that the Catholic faith, it's not actually to do with... The term Catholic comes from cathode, because the crosses you'd have at the top of steeples were a cathode to attract electrons.
I thought it was catechism. Is it catechism?
So lightning conductors.
Yeah, but then they were saying, like, prior to the mud floods of the 19th century, there was no such thing as Islam and Christianity and Judaism. It's just the reason you got stars, crosses, and crescents.
Or Hobbit. It could come from is it catechism, which is from ancient Greek to teach orally.
Catechism, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the word.
Or it could come from that, which makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, but going back to the bullshit theory.
Yeah. Go back to the made-up theory.
Yeah, the Catholics are called that because, like, the cathodes, right? We just ignore the fact that you got synagogues with stars on them and mosques with their crescents. Because that's all that is to draw electricity from the air and put it down. That's why you'd have that thing made out of gold, and it'd be suspended in a bath of mercury. But now they don't use it, and they say mercury's deadly toxic. You're not allowed to have it anymore.
Oh, okay.
Godfrey's cordial. I'm still reading about Godfrey's cordial because this sounds like mint. This stuff. I should try and like authentically make some of this when I go and visit Afghanistan or something. So it wouldn't do it in this country. Oh no. Godfrey's cordial has long been recognised as a leading to fatal cases of opium poisoning. However, it continued to be made and used until the early 20th century, at least partly due to the ease at which it could be manufactured. Well, yeah, I mean, it's basically laudanum with sassafras oil. I think in some ways, like, the further back in time you go, the more based people were with what they were consuming. Like, we've got all sorts of poisonous, fucked up shit now. But the poisonous, fucked up shit people used to have, like, hey, you know what would be a really good laxative? What's that? Antimony pellets. Well, how does that work? Well, you see, they're basically really toxic, right? Like arsenic, but they won't kill you like arsenic. So it'll just make you shit yourself inside out. But unlike other like laxatives, you can fish out.
I think that's what Graham Young used, didn't he? You ever heard of Graham Young, also known as the teacup poisoner?
Oh, right. Well, you can You can fish out the antimony pills from your poo, wash them off, and then recycle them. And the next time someone's constipated, you can give them the antimony pills.
Nice, beautiful.
Yeah. They used to have this philosophy of heroic medicine back then. The idea being that if you can survive it, you're a hero. It really was a thing called heroic medicine. Let me go into Wikipedia and find out what is.
Because I think he used his first when he poisoned his family. I think he used antimony. That's what it made me think of Graham Young.
Heroic medicine, also referred to as heroic depletion theory, was a therapeutic method advocating for rigorous treatment of bloodletting, purging, and sweating to shock the body back to health after an illness caused by a humoral imbalance. Well, you know what? That seems pretty, like, yeah. If you're feeling pretty unwell, just let out some blood and go in a bath of ice cubes and you'll feel all right, won't you?
So how about this then? So Graham Young's sister, she was on the train, started to hallucinate, had to be helped out at the station. So doctors came to the conclusion he'd somehow been exposed to the poisonous Atropa belladonna. So Fred Young confronted his son, but Graham blamed Winifred, who he claimed had been using the family's teacups to mix shampoo. So shampoo has fucking deadly nightshade in it. I don't think so, young man.
No, why would you have... You wouldn't have belladonna in shampoo. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but wait...
That's all...
antimony. Yeah, Graham Young, when he poisoned his family, he was using the antimony. But I think after he got out and he did his second... Well, after he'd served his time and he got out the second time, he poisoned his work colleagues with thallium, I think.
Belladonna's also called wolfsbane, isn't it?
Yeah, because if you give it to wolves, it will kill them.
I mean, it comes from the old European practice of poisoning wolves with meat scraps.
Yeah, all right.
Laced with the aconite roots.
I knew I recognised eugenol because I was looking at these essential oils from sassafras, and one of them's eugenol, or eugenol, I should say. There's no I in it. Eugenol has a pleasant, spicy clove-like scent. You find it in plants from clove, nutmeg, cinnamon, basil, and bay leaf. So all of those have got eugenol in it. The name is derived from Eugenia caryophyllata, the former Linnaean nomiculture term for cloves.
Well, if we're going to talk about weird plants, don't we need to talk about the Venus flytrap?
Yeah. There's plants like ferns, Venus flytraps, and other ones which they don't have muscles, but they move. They can. How does a fern curl up? Whilst you look at Venus flytrap, how? Because as far as I know, it's a hydraulic action which makes the Venus flytrap move.
Right, so the Venus flytrap is one of a small group of plants capable of rapid movement, such as Mimosa pudica, the telegraph plant, sundews, and bladderworts. The telegraph part.
Technically, all plants move. So heliotropic, which means moving towards the sun.
Cadario salix maturius, known as the telegraph plant, dancing plant, or semaphore plant, is a tropical Asian shrub with a few plants capable of rapid movement. So that one can rapidly move as well. And the sundews and bladderworts apparently can as well. So sundews are carnivorous as well.
The sticky buds on it, which when a fly goes on it, it curls up around the fly.
That's it. I think that's the one. Yeah. And then bladderworts do as well. But I don't know.
I think with the Venus flytrap, it's like these fine hairs that, when they're stimulated, that causes it to close around.
So I think a bladderwort looks a bit like a snapdragon. Do you remember snapdragons?
Yeah, if you squeeze the size of a snapdragon, it suddenly flips, and then it'll spit seeds out.
Yeah,
it's really weird, isn't it?
But I think the bladderwort's like a snapdragon, but inside the mouth bit of the snapdragon, I think it has a sticky, it's something that breaks down insects. So they get in there, get trapped. It's all sticky, and it's also acidic, and it digests them.
There's also a what's it called? A pitcher plant. Which is basically a big funnel, and it smells like rotting meat. So flies go in there, and it's got a pool of acid in there, which sort of dissolves the flies. It's like it's got a stomach.
So what is it? So they still don't really understand. What does it say here? So it says. So they said they don't really understand. They still don't really understand Venus flytraps. So where was it? I just saw the
Omnivorous plants.
So it is the rapid flipping of this bistable state that closes the trap, but the mechanism by which this occurs is still poorly understood. When the trigger hairs are stimulated, an action potential, mostly involving calcium ions. Says C calcium in biology, is generated, which propagates across the lobes and stimulates cells in the lobes and in the midrib between them. So do you know what that? So Hobbit or Dom calcium. What
calcium
that
ions calcium ions are used in nerve cells. It's almost like the plant has its own nerve cells.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think there's calcium ion channels in the taste buds as well. So when corresponding taste goes on it, it activates it. The calcium ion goes from one state to the other, which then stimulates the nerve, and that's how you can taste. And there's I know I've said this a lot in this episode, but it is weird and it is proper Fortean. There's this really weird plant called the miracle berry, right? And it's got this protein in it called miraculin. And what miraculin does, right, is when you're in a band called Dream and you go on...
Is that like an obtainium, Hobbit?
Well, except you can obtain it, but it's like...
Well, you can obtain an obtainium, so I don't even know why it's called an obtainium. You remember an obtainium from Avatar? Or Dances with Smurfs, if you're watching South Park.
I believe it's next to the periodic table of... it goes right next to That Will Come in Handyum.
And that has that big tree that you dock with it.
With the right back to the start with the big what's it called, the mold.
Yeah, that's it. It's the USB hub tray.
The USB hub tray.
You plug into it, but
it's a USB X or something in it, Hubbit, because it's like way ahead of like a USB-C, isn't it?
Oh, we were talking about HDMI and DisplayPort before the show.
Yeah.
Like, why does it exist, and why is there a difference? And I think the only reason is like, well, wouldn't it be funny if we made a different standard, and that's why. But back onto this miraculin, the protein which is found in miracle berries. It's a protein, and when it coats your tongue, what happens is things which are normally sour would then go and trigger your sweet taste buds. And they can say, oh, you can eat all sorts of foods with it. Like, you probably don't want to like drink pure balsamic vinegar on its own, because you can still taste just how acidic it is. But
that's not good for you, is it?
What, drinking pure balsamic vinegar?
No, like your sense of taste being fucked up, because that could potentially, like, you know, back in the day, that could kill you, couldn't it? If you're eating
sense of taste.
If you're eating rotten meat or something like that,
what's good,
and you're like, oh, this rotten meat tastes lovely.
So if I'm being a fucking idiot and going, oh, this meat with maggots in it that smells off, I'm going to eat that now, or go, I wonder if bleach tastes sweet. Let's go and chug some bleach. You know, if I'm a fucking idiot, I think I've got more problems to worry about than my tastes have been confused a bit.
I'm not talking about modern life. Well, you know, what if it's like that safety film I watched where the dad has a Corona lemonade bottle full of terps, and he's chugging terps.
Speaking of
that episode
Corona,
about Panda Pops Corona.
Yeah.
Speaking of Corona, your sense of smell also affects your sense of taste.
Yeah,
so people who've lost their sense of smell from the coronavirus, how many people have died from eating rotten meat?
Probably a fair few, because, like, you know, they don't notice, like, the milk they're drinking in their fridge has gone off. And then until
do you remember? Have you ever seen Alien Nation, Hubbard?
No,
the aliens land and they get drunk on sour milk. Yeah, they get drunk on sour milk.
Oh, that's horrible. Oh, fuck no. But actually, the Mongolians do that. They get like yak's milk and ferment it and get drunk on that. So you can turn that into alcohol. But this
as Uno says, shit smells for a reason.
Yeah. So this miraculin, right? I've done it before, and it really is good. The only thing I'll recommend doing with it, right, is you get some raw lemon juice. You can dilute it. Like I would recommend, like in a pint of water, the juice of half a lemon or 1 lemon, and you drink that. And I guarantee you that will be the sweetest lemonade you have ever drunk in your life. It is absolutely fucking gorgeous. And the weird thing is after that time, I used to, like, for years and years when I was working in this place, I would have like a litre bottle. I still got the bottle, actually. A litre bottle where I put like 1 litre of water and the juice of 1 lemon, and I'd have that as my lunch drink. And I like the taste of unsweetened lemon juice now because of the time of miraculin, because it doesn't taste as sweet. I can definitely taste it sour, but it made me realise, like, you know what? Lemon juice is really nice. And orange juice is really nice as well. But lemon juice, you know, is a bit sharper. It's good stuff. So I think when I start earning some money again, I'm going to get myself some miraculin. I think that's good stuff. Kefir water is good. That's what C says. Yeah, I quite like... I'm not sure about kefir water, but...
Kefir water?
Well, kefir is... It's like a yogurt drink, and... when that's sweetened, that's good. Some people have it unsweetened, but the really weird one is there's this one called kombucha or kombucha. If what's his name, Phil's on, it'd be like, yeah, that stuff's fucking base. That is fucking love rush of me. It's you get tea, and then you let it go off slightly, and then it's slightly alcoholic and slightly acidic because it's bacteria.
It's like a mushroom thing, isn't it? A mushroom tea.
It's slightly alcoholic and it's slightly acidic, and to me it just tastes like drinking vinegar. But apparently it's very good for you because it's got all these nutrients in it from the yeast.
Probably because it's anything fermented, very good for your gut biome.
Yeah. I mean, it's why I have sauerkraut, especially if I had the shits, because like it's got all the bacteria in it which are good for you. So yeah, that's good stuff. Right, we've got 13 minutes left. Do you want to do some unexplained histories, or we going to talk more about plants? What I've eaten?
I was just going to finish off about the Venus flytrap. So it's hypothesised that there's a threshold of iron build-up for the Venus flytrap to react to stimulation. The acid growth theory. Do you know what that is, Hubbard?
No.
Refers to the ability of plant cells and plant cell walls to elongate or expand quickly at low pH. The cell wall needs to be modified in order to maintain the turgor pressure. This modification is controlled by plant hormones like auxin. Theory states that individual cells in the outer layers of the lobes and the midrib rapidly move the 1H plus hydrogen ions.
All right.
Yeah, lowering the pH and loosening the extracellular components, which allows them to swell rapidly by osmosis, thus elongating and changing the shape of the trap lobe. So, do you understand what that means of it?
Unfortunately, no, because whilst you were saying all that stuff, I was reading about belladonna.
I understand a little bit about it, because H is like amount of hydrogen ions. So changing the amount of hydrogen ions will lower the pH or raise it. However,
that's right. So your pH value for your acids is due to hydrogen ions. So the more acidic something is, the more negative hydrogen ions.
So they're shifting water through the cell walls using hydrogen ions or something. Is that what it's saying then?
Well, I thought it was like a hydraulic effect, like it got water under pressure, and then when the triggers are activated on both sides, the leaf closes because, like, water hydraulic.
Well, it lowers the pH. So it lowers the pH and loosens the extracellular components, which allows them to swell rapidly by osmosis, thus elongating and changing the shape of the trap lobe.
Yeah, because osmosis works, the water will go from through a barrier from something that's less soluble to something that's more soluble.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's not like there's like a vessel, because I suppose dissecting the plant you'd have quickly seen any like vessels with like spring-loaded chambers in it. So the osmosis of water is doing the hydraulic effect. Well, that's interesting. So that's like rapid osmosis then, going from one state to another. Yeah. Cool. That is that is fascinating.
So
I found a thing.
Oh, sorry, what C was saying just about kefir water briefly. Yeah, I've just remembered in Wetherspoons you can get fizzy kefir drinks. So yeah,
can you?
Yes, and I drink that sometimes because I don't often have booze when I'm at Spoons. It's weird. It's a pub, but I don't go there. Well, I've been drunk in a Spoons before. No, sorry, Tied and Emotional. No one gets drunk in pubs in England. Did you know that?
No.
Because publicans have by to law refuse service to anybody who's drunk in a pub. Yeah.
Yeah. Got something quick. Grover Cleveland Eve Baxter Jr. was an interrogation specialist for the CIA. It's known for his experiments with plants using a polygraph instrument in the 1960s, which led to his theory of primary perception. He claimed that plants feel pain and have ESP, which was widely reported in the media. These claims have been rejected by the scientific community.
It's all stuff and nonsense then.
Yeah, it's a typical CIA, just
blow niggers.
Bullshit.
Yeah. And also, whilst we're on the subject of it, we probably don't have time to get into deliriance as a subject itself, but it's like, this is another thing where art plant's amazing, right? But I've been playing Cyberpunk again, and it's amazing. They've updated the game to 1.52, and it's even more jank than the original. And it's kind of funny because in it, like, Keanu Reeves is smoking cigarettes all the time, and he's convincing you to smoke cigarettes, and then eventually, like, who's in control of your body? And he's, like, smoking invisible cigarettes. And because the game's fucking jank, and occasionally, like, he starts T-posing when smoking a cigarette. Here's a thing about atropine, which I do remember reading. The plant-based alkaloids scopolamine and atropine are notorious for their characteristic hyperactive effects and ability to cause stark and dreamlike hallucinations. The hallucinations themselves are often described by users as disturbing, unpleasant, or dark in nature. Other commonly reported behaviours and experiences include holding conversations with imagined persons or entities, smoking non-existent cigarettes, even with non-smokers. Like, what if you like smoking a pipe? Would you be imagining smoking a pipe? Visual hallucinations of spiders or shadow figures, or being able to recognise one's own reflection in a mirror. Wow, that sounds like a fun trip, man. I've seen all these kids in America, like I say I've seen them. They're talking about how to get high, and because when you're a kid, you can't just go to a dealer. It's like, hello, I'll have one marijuana, please. So kids are saying, oh, well, you can get high off of belladonna and datura, Jimson weed. So just like smoke some of those flowers, and you'll be tripping for 3 days. Well, man, that sounds like a really good time. No, kids, drugs are really bad. When they say drugs are bad, what they're saying is don't do deliriants because they will fuck you up. Like, if you really like the idea of not being able to sleep for 3 days because spiders are crawling inside your eyelids when they're not, then, that's why they say drugs are bad. That's not a fun thing to do. Imagine when you're looking into a mirror and you don't recognise the reflection there. So you start cutting up your face to go like, that's not my face. Why does it hurt when I cut up your face?
My dog needs to eat. My dog needs to eat. Why don't I cut my face off and give it to my dog?
Oh, yeah.
That's what someone on LSD did, wasn't it?
There's basically...
PCP, I think.
That's why we need medicinal PCP.
Yeah.
LSD gives you a mild kind of experience of schizophrenia, which is why schizophrenics do very badly when they take it.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. I suppose with the LSD, you can get synesthesia on it, where the senses start getting confused and you can smell colours, etc., and or you can
see
feel
sounds. You see sounds, don't you?
Yeah, and they said that with what's his name, Shakespeare. They said that his synesthesia helped with doing some interesting, coining interesting phrases like the term bitterly cold. Like, bitterly cold, if I was to say to you, you understand, like, a cold, it's so cold it's bitter. But only someone that experiences synesthesia could go, like, the taste of bitter and the feeling of cold and put them together. So that was a weird thing to do.
Good point, and a lot of creative people are crazy as fuck, so...
Yeah, it's kind of like a mixed blessing. Like, the more creative they are, the more sensitive and susceptible they are to weird things going on around them.
That's why you've got the whole... I guess that's why you've got the whole 27 Club and all that.
Did you know David Bowie was convinced the ghost of his father was phoning him?
Yeah. Oh well. Is it David Bowie that had a demon in a swimming pool in his house, and there was someone got drowned there, and they didn't do an exorcism, or they tried to do an exorcism and it failed? Or is it David Bowie? No, I think it is David Bowie. Yeah, the one that did the song Under Pressure, Coming Under Me. I think that was about his swimming pool and the drowning.
So what do you want to do, Hobbit? Do you want to do some unexplained mysteries? I've just chucked it in there.
Unexplained mysteries. Woo.
Do you want to do the hentai? What looks like a fucking hentai Nessie sketch.
Hentai? Oh, you mean foreskin Nessie?
Yeah, that's so very wrong with that fucking Nessie sketch.
With ball bag breasts.
just complete with Luke Skywalker figure with cup.
A sketch of Loch Ness Monster drawn in 1936 has shown that perverts existed back then. How was that for? Them trans people.
We had weeds.
Really
we had weebs back in 1936. Fuck me.
You didn't have Rule 34 of the internet back then, so
Rule 34 of the sketchbook.
Guys, don't you understand? In 1936, people were trad and based. They were not drawing hentai of Loch Ness Monster, guys. You're just so degenerate coomers that you think you see boob Loch Ness Monster foreskin.
There's some foreskin-faced ball bags. It's even got fucking ball bags under the at the end of the foreskin, isn't it?
Is it a ball bag or is it a boobie? I can't.
No, I meant the ball bag, like ball bag ears. So you got like the foreskin end, didn't you, with the ball bags on it, and then you got the fucking titties down by the feet, didn't you? Like look, nipple, look, great big nipple.
But it's like ball bags with nipples on them.
The fuck? Oh dear.
Yeah. Well, I get some nipples put on my ball bags.
When you next speak to Ian, you've got to show him this. I want to call you Damien. I know your name. It's Dom.
Yeah, well, thanks for knowing my name.
Yeah.
Shall I'll at Ian. I'll at Ian in here.
Yeah, do, because he needs to see this. Like, that's fucked up. I mean, when he did his like Loch Ness thing, he never showed that. I mean, if he showed me that, I'd have just been like, you know what, Ian, I don't believe you anymore. I think Loch Ness is real. Hey, do you know what? I've just looked at the in the bottom right corner. That's like another.
That's a close up of the head, isn't it?
You know what that looks like?
Ian is actually at Loch Ness around now, isn't he?
Oh God, is he going to get attacked by the ball bag scrote monster? Foreskin scrote monster.
That head looks like you heard of the beast, a kelpie, a seahorse.
Yeah.
It was in the Witcher series. It was Ciri's horse's name.
Yeah.
Oh, well, kelpie. Oh, that's nice. But the kelpie's kind of like a siren. It's like. It lures people in,
you know the ball bags at the head end. It's like what use are they? What's the adaptive trait of having ball bags underwater?
Oh, I haven't even thought about the droopy bollock ears. I was looking like way below at the flippers.
No. That's where the boobs are. The droopy bollock ears. That's what I mean. It looks like a full-on fucking Joan.
Do you know what this reminds me of? Have you ever seen like H.R. Giger's artwork, the stuff that wasn't sanitized for Ridley Scott's film? And it's basically the aliens are like penis monsters with like penises everywhere going into things, and like the mouth coming out is a little penis as well. So it can rape you with its little penis mouth whilst it rapes you with a big penis mouth.
Hobbit, quote of the day. I was quite staggered when I first saw the sketch. Ian H.J. Lister of the Royal Scottish Museum Department for Natural History later wrote.
No.
Go on, then.
In the thing where they go to the Norwegian camp and they find the dead creature that's amalgam of all the Norwegian people.
Yeah.
This would be like a bunch of dead whores that the thing tried to imitate. Blood trannies thrown in too.
I'm looking at another headline, and just to say, like, it was discovered in the 1980s and it was hushed up, but it's making the rounds again. The Turin Shroud dates to the time of Jesus, and it is the likeness of Jesus Christ. It's burned into the shroud with ultraviolet light. That, like, it's intense radiation did that. How did that happen? Well, it happened because it was a miracle. That's why it happened.
You surely you want to do this one, Hobbit? Is ancient human ancestor hiding in Indonesia? Because you seen that, about this one?
Oh, the little Homo florenzius, the Indonesian hobbit. Yeah. Well, they found some, have they? Because I thought they said they all went extinct in the 18th century.
I think they found 60,000 years ago. They said they died out.
No, they've been around much more recent than that. The Indonesians said that they used to exist up until a few hundred years ago, but they got a bit too naughty, so they went to a war with them and wiped them all out.
Did they?
Yeah, because they said they used to like kidnap their children and cannibalize them.
Well, they think they're, according to retired anthropologist Gregory Forth at the University of Alberta, these real-life hobbits may not have gone extinct at all and could be living on the island of Flores today.
Well, that could be interesting to talk about in an episode about giants, because isn't that not too far from Patagonia? Let me just have a look. Where?
Well, they've also
Patagonia?
found like teeny tiny. No, Patagonia's in.
Oh, that's Chile.
South America, isn't it? Yeah.
You're thinking of the Fast Show.
Patagonia.
Yeah, the Patagonians in the Fast Show.
How about this one then? Hobbit human may have had down. Hold on, Hobbit. Unexplained mysteries. They're having a dig at you now. Hobbit human may have had Down syndrome.
No, autism. Get it right, unexplained mysteries.
Oh God! Do you want to hear some bullshit science? Should we do some bullshit science? We haven't.
Oh gosh, do I ever? That's why I check out this.
Parallel timelines could make time travel possible.
Yeah.
Physicist Barak Shoshani. What kind of name is that?
Barak Shoshani. Barak means lightning.
Yeah.
And Obama means from heaven. And apparently the name for the devil is lightning from heaven.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah.
See, my name's Don, which is short for Dominic, means belonging to the Lord, which couldn't be further from the truth.
So, Hobbit, have you ever made a mistake that you wish you could undo? Correcting past mistakes is one of the reasons we find the concept of time travel so fascinating, as often portrayed in science fiction with a time machine. With a time machine, nothing is permanent anymore. You can go back and change it. But is time travel really possible in our universe, or is it just science fiction?
Yes.
Our modern understanding of...
And the LHC has been doing it for a long time. It's fucking up with the timelines, and that's why we have the Mandela effect.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
Our modern understanding of time and causality comes from general relativity. Theoretical physicist Albert Einstein's theory combines space and time into a single entity, space-time. Yeah, thanks for that. You just pushed two words together. And provides a remarkably intricate explanation of how they... How does he know they work? How does he know that's how they work? No, this is the thing that I've always wondered. Like, he doesn't, does he? It's like guessing, isn't it?
Magnets, how do they work? Does anybody know?
Fucking magnets, how do they work? And provides a remarkably intricate explanation of how they both work at a level unmatched by any other established theory. This theory has existed more than 100 years and has been experimentally verified to extremely high precision. So physicists... So it's been verified to extremely high precision, Hobbit. Remember that. So physicists are fairly certain it provides an accurate description of the causal structure of our universe.
But how does this affect jamming electrodes up a shark's butthole?
Yeah, but they've verified it to extremely high precision, so they're fairly certain it provides an accurate description.
What, so you're saying 5.5 inches up its butthole, or 5.75 inches up its butthole?
I don't know. I think we need some more money, Hobbit, because we haven't even got to the part where how do sharks sleep.
I mean, sharks, how the fuck do they work?
So for decades, physicists have been trying to use general relativity to figure out if time travel is possible. It turns out that you can write down equations that describe time travel and are fully compatible and consistent with relativity. But physics is not mathematics, and equations are meaningless if they do not correspond to anything in reality. What are scientists doing, Hobbit? Do we need to do scientists? What the fuck are they doing? Do we need to do a whole episode on it?
I'm a scientist. I put little bits of drugs on spiders, isn't it great?
I'm gonna take loads of money off someone to tell you how sharks sleep at the end of the study. Well, we've been electrocuting them, but I still haven't figured out how sharks sleep and if they do.
I'm a world expert on sharks, right? And I've been studying them for 7 years, and I don't know if they go to sleep or not.
I need more money.
Take it you've seen Wonders of the Stonerverse.
No, I haven't seen that. I think that's literally just like normal scientists, isn't it?
It's a mashup of Brian Cox saying really crazy things and implying he's on drugs. So.
Oh, the Hobbit will like that one. Hobbit's gonna like that one.
Yeah, I've got to see that. So yeah, if you can send us a link, I'll watch that when the show's over.
There are two.
Will do.
So there are two main issues which make us think these equations may be unrealistic. The first issue is a practical one. Building a time machine seems to require exotic matter, which is matter with negative energy. All the matter we see in our daily lives has positive energy.
Like some narcissistic women.
Yeah.
Just put them next to the LHC and suddenly like weird things will happen.
Bang. Bang, bang, the timeline is gone.
Bang, and the timeline is gone.
Matter with negative energy is not something you could just find lying around. Name one thing you could just find lying around, Hobbit.
I know. Spiders on mescaline.
Yeah. from quantum mechanics, it's like what a redundant phrase. Oh, you just can't find it lying around. You don't find anything lying around. Everything needs to be processed. From quantum mechanics, we know such matter can theoretically be created, but in too small quantities for too short times. Why don't you just do the same thing but bigger? Anyway, this is boring. So that bit's boring. It's like, but for example, consider a scenario where I enter my time machine, use it to go back in time 5 minutes, and destroy the machine as soon as I get to the past. Now that I've destroyed the time machine, it would be impossible for me to use it 5 minutes later. But if I cannot use the time machine, then I can't go back in time and destroy it. Therefore, it's not destroyed. So I cannot go back in time and destroy it. In other words, the time machine is destroyed if and only if it is not destroyed, since it cannot be both destroyed and not destroyed simultaneously. This scenario is inconsistent and paradoxical. I bet you didn't know that, did you, Hobbit?
Schrodinger's time machine.
Yeah.
I thought the whole point of the time machine is for the Jews can go back in time and shag their grandmother so that they're their own grandfather.
Yeah, didn't Fry do that in Futurama?
Yes, he's his own grandfather, isn't he? Is it all's well that's Roswell, isn't it? That's the name of the episode.
That was the really weird bit in Back to the Future, where it's like, hey, you know what? My mum's coming on to me. And now I'm starting to fade out reality because she's no longer interested in my dad.
Why didn't he shag his mum? Problem solved then, isn't it?
Oh god.
Yeah, but she's not his mum at that. Yeah, but she's not his mum at that point, is she?
But he's like, half of your genes come from your mum, so if you're like, well, it's going to end up in that weird twins episode when we're finding about the XO chromosome half female, which is still like, and you know, you've got your XXY females, which are also slightly masculine because they've got a Y chromosome, and it's fucked up, man. No,
I feel that incest could be a whole episode on its own.
After the twins one, I don't want to do it.
Oh god, the twins one. The
twins one basically degenerated into God. India's fucked up. Yeah, it turns out when you've got human feces in your groundwater, you get loads of problems. Oh god, can we show this? Can we show this on the show before it finishes? Can we show this? Show this right before we go. Please show it.
Oh god, here we go. Right, let's show this. You're not gonna be able to hear it. You're just gonna have to watch it.
It doesn't need sound. Amber Heard is a disgusting human being.
You fucking leave Amber Heard alone. What she did for the good of the film industry.
I'll tell you what, you wouldn't be simping for her if she did an Amber Heard in your bed.
She wouldn't do an Amber Heard in my bed because I'm not a paedophile like Johnny Depp.
Speaking of which, I could do with an Amber right now.
An Amber Heard.
She was great. She was great in Drive Angry. You seen Drive Angry?
Yeah, I've seen Drive. Is she in Drive Angry?
Is that a sequel to Drive with Ryan Gosling?
Yeah, only it's Thingy that plays him.
Oh, okay. And I didn't like Baby Driver. I thought that was a really bad prequel to Drive.
Yeah, that's a prequel.
Have you seen Baby Driver? It's like, how has this prequel got to do with Drive? It's shit.
I didn't think Drive was very good. I thought Drive was overrated as well.
I like Drive though.
Anyway, time travel.
It's really gay.
Jacob Hauser and Jared Wogan have been working on it, so it's obviously top stuff.
Terry Wogan's been doing time travel.
Terry Wogan, yeah. That's how he was on telly for so long. He kept going back, didn't he, and starting again.
God, I hate Terry Wogan. I remember his chat show, and I was forced to watch it as a kid. And I thought, this has to be the most boring thing in humanity. I tell you what, right? You know this whole thing about, like, we come from angels and all that stuff, and we descend down to Earth to experience a magical time. Imagine you're like this spiritual being which is creating an image of God, and you're there in a household in the late 80s, and you're watching Terry Wogan on the telly going, "Oh, hello, I'm really interesting. And now I'm going to interview someone who's really beige."
Yeah, but all right then, Hobbit. Here's the theory of relativity. You know, what would you prefer, watching Wogan or watching Parkinson?
Can I watch neither?
No, you've been forced to watch one. Which one would you? I'd see it'd be Wogan for me. I'd watch Wogan over Parkinson any day. Yeah, because he is one fucking boring cunt. That Parkinson.
You know what? Either one on the show, literally toss a coin for it. I'm just going to be playing with my Lego.
Is that how you used to get away with it, was it?
Pretty much. Just play with my toys whilst the grown-ups watch their boring shit telly.
Right, so we done Hobbit.
I think so. I think it was very important in this episode about how plants are weird. We showed like the effects of Amber Heard and chocolate.
Amber Heard.
What I've taken from this is how much plants can get you high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, night all, and don't be scared of the scrotum bollock Loch Ness monster.
And don't give mescaline and other drugs to spiders.
Well,